on the Cardinals game today in St. Louis, of course, and all of your Week 11 fantasy football advice. We have Jeff Corchini and Russ Bliss from FantasyFootballStarters.com this morning. Thanks for being here.
You bet.
Thank you.
Week 11, we're getting down to the wire.
That's right. Time for the playoffs.
We're going to talk Cardinals in just a moment. Lots of folks, of course, want to hear about this matchup. But first, we want to start with the injuries. It seems like a lot of the starting running backs right now are just hurt.
Yeah, starts off with Michael Turner in Atlanta, running back. He's not going to be. He's listed as doubtful this week, Tess, so we don't recommend playing him. He's got a high ankle sprain. And then Cedric Benson, who plays for the Cincinnati Bengals, he's listed as doubtful. He had a hip flexor, so we don't recommend starting him. And then we've got a couple that actually have concussions. Clinton Portis, running back of the Washington Redskins, looks like he's going to go see a specialist. He's going to be out this week as well. And then Brain Westbrook, he's probably going to be out 3 or 4 games because of concussions. May not even come back this season. It's pretty questionable right now. And then Julius Jones, who actually has a lung injury. So those are some top running backs. We don't recommend starting any of them this week.
Keep them on the bench.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Russ. If we're keeping these guys back, who should be our backups? Who should be picking up on our rosters?
Well, it's always a good idea to handcuff your stud running backs to their backups just in case situations like this, because this happens all the time in the NFL. And for Michael Turner, Jason Snelling has taken over as the top backup. He's going to get the start today. He's going to be the feature back. The other backup, Jarius Norwood, is questionable to play with a knee injury. So Snelling actually steps in, and he's done pretty well in the spot time that he's had so far for the Atlanta Falcons. Elsewhere, you've got Bernard Scott for the Cincinnati Bengals. With Cedric Benson out, Bernard Scott's probably going to get the start. There's also Brian Leonard, and they signed Larry Johnson, but Scott is their rookie that they drafted that has shown a lot of speed and a lot of acceleration. He's going to get the start in a great matchup against the Oakland Raiders today. Then you've also got Ladell Betts for the Washington Redskins. Ladell Betts takes over. He did very well last week. He was playing on a bum ankle last week, still had over 100 yards rushing. So he's going to get the start again for Washington as they take on Dallas. And you're looking at Justin Forsett for the Seattle Seahawks. Remember, Forsett came on last week against the Cardinals and had a really, really good game. He's a smaller running back, but he's very fast, very elusive in the open field. And Justin Forsett brings a little bit of an element of speed and shiftiness that Julius Jones didn't exactly exhibit for the Seahawks. So Forsett against the Minnesota Vikings is good. And then finally, you've got the last running back, and that's LeSean McCoy for the Philadelphia Eagles. And LeSean McCoy has stepped in for Brain Westbrook at times this year and has looked really good.
All right, so we have some backup running backs. What about backup quarterbacks? There's quite a few starting this season, not because of injuries, but because hey, they're just playing better than the starting quarterback.
Well,
for an example, like in the case of Oakland and Buffalo.
Yeah, and Ryan Fitzpatrick is actually taking over for Trent Edwards in Buffalo.
Taking over altogether.
Taking over, well, yeah, because they fired Dick Duran, the head coach, in Buffalo this week. So they need a change. They need to make a change. Trent Edwards wasn't cutting it, so they're gonna insert Ryan Fitzpatrick. They go up against Jacksonville. And then the other one is Bruce Gradkowski, who is now going to be starting for the Oakland Raiders. And JaMarcus Russell just has not done it, Tess, and it's finally Al Davis. It took him, what, 25 starts for us to finally realize that this kid is just not the starter. So they're going to go with Bruce Gradkowski just to see if he can change things up.
All right, and finally, no quarterback issues, though, of course, with our Cardinals. Kurt Warner, just stellar, and he's going to be facing his old team in St. Louis today.
What a game this is going to be, too. You know, Kurt Warner, I think the Cardinals have averaged 34 points a game against St. Louis last week, and Warner is just lighting it up, Tess. He continues to do that. We're predicting that the Cardinals will win 30-10, and it looks like Warner will throw for 274 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's playing absolutely phenomenal right now, and you know, the last time that he started a whole season, he took them to the Super Bowl. So, playing real well.
They're looking good this year. What about Beanie Wells? Great game last week, too.
I know. We were talking about that last week, too. He just continues to get stronger and stronger and stronger, averaging over 5 yards a carry right now, really coming on strong. Him and Tim Hightower, they're a dynamic duo, but look for Beanie Wells for 70 yards and maybe a touchdown again today.
Okay.
So it's just, I mean, the Cardinals are are hitting on all cylinders right now on offense.
Definitely start him if he's on your fantasy football team. Russ, you want to to talk about the defense right now. The Cardinals could have their hands full with the Rams' two best weapons on offense, so
Yeah.
they could be in trouble here.
Yeah, Steven Jackson is definitely one of the best running backs in the NFL. He's averaging 4.8 yards per carry, and he's third in the NFL in rushing yards so far in the season. He's been on a tear so far. He's been the best weapon that the St. Louis Rams have, and the Arizona Cardinals historically have played very well against Steven Jackson. He's never had a 100-yard rushing game against him, despite 8 career games against him. But the Cardinals have got to find a way to contain him because he's playing his best football of his career right now. And then also they've got to make sure that they get pressure on Mark Bulger. Mark Bulger is coming off his best game against the New Orleans Saints last week. 298 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Mark Bulger has been playing mediocre up until that time. But if the light bulb's coming on for him, he's got some weapons in that offense. He can actually pose some problems. And the Cardinals, they've allowed 700 passing yards and 4 passing touchdowns in their last 2 games. Cardinals have got to make sure that they get pressure on Bulger because Bulger can be rattled in the pocket.
Yeah.
That's a lot of yardage that they've.
You know, and it's a
let up there.
divisional game too, Tess, and they always tend to be a little bit closer because both teams are familiar with each other.
Sure, they're
Should be a good
studying
game.
each other
That's
real well.
right.
And if you haven't gotten your fill of tips, you can, of course, log on to fantasyfootballstarters.com, where they always have a free offer for our viewers.
You bet. If they go to fantasyfootballstarters.com and register only, Tess, and then they email me, Jeff at fantasyfootballstarters.com, I will upgrade them to our Power Player package that has all of our predictions, our trade analyzer, our power rankings, our smart alerts, everything. $9.95 value, absolutely free.
All right. Thank you very much for advice in week
bet.
11, guys.
You bet. Have a great week.
You too.